Well, hi, everybody. Todd Nash, Senate District 29. Um, we're here. We got about 39 days left in the session, and I'm glad to see some light at the end of the tunnel. I'm glad to see some positive traction with some of the bills we advocated for. Go through those just a little bit. I'm going to talk about some more challenging things here today too. Senate Bill 777, the wolf compensation bill, that got out of committee today, not without a little, or excuse me, got out of committee yesterday, not without a little bit of drama. It was scheduled for a work session on Monday, was voted on eventually on Wednesday, and it passed out of that committee unanimously. I am so thankful, so grateful for all the people that worked on that. There were several people that talked about during their discussion during the work session about an individual that came down and testified in person and what an impact it had on them. Don't ever think that you can't influence this body by not showing up. You have to show up here, folks. It's easy to be upset about the way things are and never ask for a change. You have to ask. And we did. We asked for a change in wolf compensation. We're going to get it. Again, thank you everybody that participated. There are individuals that have put hundreds of hours into this effort. There were individuals that suffered monumental losses and hardships. And all of that is accumulation of you continuing to participate, advocate, and eventually we're gonna be successful here because of that. Senate Bill 1061, the lumber grading bill. It is going to be voted on the floor of the House today and may have been voted on already. Really excited about that. I'm particularly proud of that and what it could provide as far as boosting morale a little bit, like one of the people that testified indicated. We need a little shot in the arm, a little victory every now and then. It's a little victory, but it should be a fun one. And I look forward to seeing how that actually turns out, how many people actually go to trainings to learn how to grade lumber on their own, build houses with self-inspected lumber. It's local timber turned into local lumber going into Oregon houses. I'm really happy with that. Some challenging bills that happened this week too. So, and in the Senate Natural Resource Committee, this is a bill that had already made its way through the House, and it was the beaver bill that would forbid trapping of beavers on impaired streams on public land in Oregon. There's no smaller segment of Oregon. If we're going to look out for minorities, we don't consider some of those natural resource users, like the trappers, like hunters, like loggers, like farmers, like ranchers. We never put them into a category to where they are a minority, but they certainly are in this state. And here's this bunch of trappers. They don't want this bill, and they could really probably lend toward recruitment of beavers in some of those places that we'd like to see them, some of the headwaters and places that they could do some good on our national forest, on some of those public lands. And they were completely disenfranchised in this effort. When you talk about a trapper, they have a special skill set. They have to predict where the animal is going to go next. And they weren't really utilized in this process to say, hey, how could we work together, conservation groups, with ODF&W, with this state to perpetuate beavers in places where they're void. And they didn't do that. There are segments of national forests that have been closed to trapping, beaver trapping, for over 60 years. There's no beavers there. It wasn't the trappers or lack of trapping or robust trapping that caused that. Looking at habitat, looking at predation, looking at a bigger scope, but just picking on those the individual trappers. I'm sorry I wasn't able to do more to stop that bill than what I did. I did propose 3 amendments. We delayed it for a little while. And in earnest, the amendments were geared toward recruitment of beavers in some of those places that are more challenging. This also sets up another precedence that I think we need to keep an eye on. So the state, this legislative body, taking out of the hands of Oregon Fish and Wildlife and the commission as to how predator management might take place, how trapper might take place. What's next? Are we going to decide what's going to be hunted on federal lands? It's really concerning. There is not a single trapper in this building, me included. I don't have that skill set. There's not very many hunters in this legislative body. I'm the only rancher in this legislative body. It's an interesting place to be. And I'm going to take that back. Representative Levy, Representative Breeze Iverson, both have some ranching experience, and part of their livelihood depends on that. So I overstepped my boundaries there just a little bit, but we are in the super minority when it comes to some of those natural resource entities, and I wish I didn't have to address such a negative thing, but this didn't turn out to be a win for everybody. There was one group that got ran over in this, and it was the trappers. So acknowledgement to you guys. I wanted to be there for you. We just didn't get it done. Transportation is heating up a little bit. There's some proposals out there. And it's an interesting look across the board as to what we do for transportation. There's some proposed changes in the way that diesel is taxed for trucks, and some of those payments. Trucks are being overburdened right now, and to rectify that is going to be quite expensive. It's constitutionally mandated that we fix some of the problems there with trucks that are being overburdened and overtaxed. And so that has to be fixed. There's some projects from the 2017 transportation bill that never got completed, and those need to be completed. I just took a vote out on the Senate floor just a short while ago, had to do with tolling going over the Columbia, to build a new bridge across the Columbia. I'm told we need a new bridge there. It's a choke point there. I was one of 3 Republicans that voted for that tolling, and folks, it's not an easy place to be down here to decide what is best. If we don't do that, my fear is we end up taxing all of Oregon, including those that don't use the bridge, even more. There's less revenues available for Eastern Oregon. There's less revenues available for all of Oregon, for that matter. And so tolling would pay for approximately a third of the bridge there. The other part would come from Oregon, Washington, and some federal funding as well. So it's kind of a balanced relationship between the users, the states, and the federal government. And one of those necessary evils. Nobody wants to pay for transportation. Everybody wants to drive on smooth roads without congestion. And it just, somebody has to pay for all that. Um, with that, I'm going to wrap this up. Um, I I see some of the viewership going down as the session goes on. There's a little less interest. This is a long, drawn out affair. And if you guys have questions, if you want to check in, please check in with my office, and I'd be glad to try to get back with you and communicate some of the things that may be of interest to you. If you have opportunity to come down here to Salem, please stop in, make an appointment, and we will visit with you real soon. Thank you.